everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Today is my TBR for Victober. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books. And today I'm wearing my The Game is Afoot Sherlock Holmes as Cats t-shirt, which I love, which must mean it's time for Victober. If you have not been on BookTube very long, you may not have encountered Victober before. This is my second year participating, and Victober is of course where we read Victorian literature in the month of October. And it's a highly anticipated readathon here on BookTube. This year there are 5 wonderful hosts: Katie at Books and Things, Kate Howe, Roz at Scallydandling About the Books, Marissa from Blatantly Bookish, and Petra. And all of these wonderful channels have done announcements. I believe they've all done TBR videos, so do go and check out lots and lots of recommendations from them by following the links that I will put in the description box down below. Now, all you have to do to participate in Victober is to read a work of Victorian literature. That is it. But if you are interested, there are also 5 challenges that you can participate in, one set by each of the lovely hosts for us. I'll tell you the books I'm reading for them as we go, and at the end of the video I have also got a few extra reads or ongoing reads that I will mention that are not Victorian. First things first, there is a group read for Victober, and the group read is Thomas Hardy's The Mayor of Casterbridge, which I'm delighted about because I actually haven't read a book by Thomas Hardy yet. I'm quite ashamed to admit that, but there are still several Victorian authors that I have not read a single book by yet, and one of those is Thomas Hardy. I've bought the book especially. I've bought a beautiful vintage classics edition, which I'm very happy with, and it says on the back, "The Mayor of Casterbridge is a man haunted by his past. In his youth he betrayed his wife and baby daughter in a shocking incident that led him to swear never to touch alcohol again. He has since risen from his humble origins to become a respected pillar of the community in Casterbridge, but his secrets cannot stay hidden forever, and he has many hard lessons left to learn." I know Thomas Hardy is a writer of a lot of tragedy. I'm really looking forward to getting to know his style and getting to read my first Hardy, because my mum has been telling me for years to read Hardy. She has absolutely loved Hardy and very much enjoyed this one. Yes, that will be my first read of Victober. I'm reading it along with the group Read Along. Moving on to talk about the prompts. Katie from Books and Things has set the challenge of read a Victorian Bildungsroman or coming of age story, and I'm not 100% sure that the book that I've chosen is meeting this criteria, but I do seem to remember Katie mentioning it in her video as being a coming of age story for one of the characters, so I'm hoping that this is fine. It's definitely the time of year to read another Charles Dickens book, and this year my Victober pick is Dombey and Son, and Dombey and Son, as you can see, is quite a chunker, so I anticipate this one taking me most of the month to get through. And I don't actually know anything about Dombey and Son, but I've heard it's a really good Dickens. I'm not going to read the back because I want to go into this one pretty blind. So yeah, Dombey and Son. I also have a lovely vintage edition of this. I actually realised when I was putting together this TBR that my main 3 books that I plan to read are all in these beautiful vintage classic editions, and I've added all of them to my TBR in the last few months. So yeah, very pleased with those. I'll show you them all together in a moment. Kate Howe's prompt is to read a Victorian work with chronic illness or disability representation. This is a really interesting challenge, I think, and I can think of books I have read from the Victorian times that do have some representation of this, but I am not really sure, because I like to go into Victorian books knowing comparatively little about them. I'm really unsure as to whether any of the books I've picked have this. If I come across it, that will be fantastic. If I don't come across it, I have got a backup emergency audiobook that was mentioned in Kate Howe's very, very helpful recommendations video, and that is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. If I get to the end of the month and none of the books I've read have any representation of disability or chronic illness, I am going to read Cranford on audio, and this, along with another book I'm going to mention in a minute, is included in your membership if you are a member of Audible. So I've downloaded that for free. It's probably Elizabeth Gaskell's shortest novel, so I think I should have time to fit it in towards the end of the month. Marissa at Blatantly Bookish has set us the challenge of reading a Victorian short story, and Roz at Scallydandling About the Books has set us the challenge to read a work of Victorian poetry. I thought I would combine these two. I have one volume on my shelf that will definitely help me meet both of these prompts, and that is my collected works of Oscar Wilde. I've been working on reading this ever since I read The Picture of Dorian Gray last year in Victober, and since then I've read 4 of the plays in this. I also read some of Oscar Wilde's poetry in this last year. Included in this book is a section called Lord Arthur Savile's Crime and Other Stories. I may get time to read all of these short stories. I may not. Some of them sound really good for spooky season as well. The ones I would most like to get to are Lord Arthur Savile's Crime and The Canterville Ghost. So I am going to try to at least get to those two. The other two in the collection are The Sphinx Without a Secret and The Model Millionaire. So I have short stories covered from Oscar Wilde. The poetical works of Oscar Wilde are also included in here, and one of his very long poems that I would like to tackle this Victober is The Ballad of Reading Gaol. I came across it in the poetical works when I read some of the shorter poems last year, so I would like to get to that one. It's a very famous Victorian poem, I believe. If you have any recommendations of his other poetry or which of his short stories are best to read, then do let me know in the comments down below as well. The final challenge, Petra's challenge, is to read a book and watch an adaptation of it. Now this really depends on which adaptation I can find. You've already seen some of the books that I've got, so it could be a Mayor of Casterbridge adaptation, it could be that I find an adaptation of Dombey and Son. I haven't really done my research into this prompt just yet, but the final book that I think there probably will be an adaptation of somewhere is a book that I'm going to be buddy reading with Nikki from Red Dot Reads. Nikki and I had just an amazing buddy read last Victober, and I look back on it with great fondness because it was such a surprise to us and such a wonderful book. And that was Anne Bronte's wonderful book, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I went into this completely blind, not knowing anything about the storyline, and I absolutely loved it. And reading it with Nikki just made it even more special. So we decided this year that we would revisit last year's wonderful buddy read by reading Anne Bronte's other work, which neither of us have read, Agnes Grey. All I know really about Agnes Grey is that I believe she is a governess, and I think that Anne Bronte based this on her time as a governess, possibly. So that's really my knowledge of this. You can see this is the third in my series of beautiful vintage classics, and this one was bought for me by the lovely Emily at Novell Novels for my birthday, so thanks for that, Emily. Let me just show you those main 3 together. These are the 3 books that I definitely hope to get through in Victober, these 3 lovely vintage classics. Those are my top 3 priorities. I don't think it will be a problem to get those read, and I don't think it will be a problem to, on top of that, pick a short story and a poem from Oscar Wilde. So far so good. I do have one more buddy read for Victober. This is with Mitzi at Mitzi Reads and Writes, and we've been quite casual in preparing for this buddy read because we both really want to read a book by this author, who's another Victorian author I have not yet got to. We're sort of doing it on the basis that we will have to probably listen to this one on an audiobook, and that we're going to save it for mid-month and see how we're getting on with our other reads. So this is going to be Anthony Trollope's The Warden, which I believe is the start of Anthony Trollope's Barchester series. Again, I don't know a huge amount about The Warden. Again, this is available included in the UK at least if you have an Audible subscription. And again, it's about 6 hours long, which is about the same as Cranford. So I should definitely get time to listen to this one. And I'm very much looking forward to buddy reading that one with Mitzi. I do have a few other small reading plans for October. Hopefully nothing too strenuous, but I have a couple of other buddy reads planned that are not Victorian, because I do like to have some other books on the go for a bit of contrast. When I'm reading classics, I really like some sort of light-hearted non-classic reads, either alongside or spaced in between. So at the very beginning of October, I'm going to be buddy reading with Janelle from Too Fond of Books, and this time we have picked The Woods by Harlan Coben to read. I'm very much looking forward to this thriller. I love Harlan Coben books, and you may remember that on my TBR for September, there was a buddy read with Janelle, which was The Cutting Room. Spoiler for my wrap up, I actually DNF'd that one. I felt really bad DNFing at a buddy read. It's the first time I've ever DNF'd a buddy read. So Janelle, if you're watching, I'm very sorry for DNFing The Cutting Room, and I really hope we have a much more successful buddy read with The Woods. I have a feeling we will, because I do love Harlan Coben, and this will definitely make a great contrast to any heavy classic reading for Victober. A second buddy read that I am doing this month is for spooky season, so I'll probably get to this towards the end of October. I'm really looking forward to this because much earlier this year I did a buddy read with Mitzi, who I've already mentioned, and Art at Bookshelf Odyssey, and we read The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury together. Since then, I have been wanting to read more Ray Bradbury quite a lot, and I haven't actually had time to get to any more yet, although I did win a book of his in a giveaway on Instagram, the book that was chosen from my wish list. I was absolutely delighted because it was Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. A perfect book for spooky season, and I think I've sort of subconsciously saved this for this time of year. And then I was so delighted to get a message from Art and Mitzi to say, should we read this together in October, or should we read anything by Ray Bradbury in October, because October is a very Ray Bradbury time of year apparently. He loved October and he loved Halloween, so Art reliably informs me. I think this will make for a very good October reading, and I'm really looking forward to going back to buddy reading with Art, who is incredibly knowledgeable about Ray Bradbury, and I will try and link down below his video about Ray Bradbury that he made after our last buddy read. And Mitzi, like me, is reading these books for the first time, so really enjoying sharing my thoughts with Mitzi on these as well. So yeah, and I love this cover too. I do have a couple of ongoing things going on still, which is the Tudor Along. The Tudor Along is hosted by Emily at Novell Novels, Gemma at Gemma Books, and Danny at Danny's Book World. And at the moment, the book that is on the go is Jane Seymour, which is the third book in the series. And I have started Jane Seymour on audiobook. I'm enjoying it much more than I enjoyed the last one. I've read about 5 chapters of Jane Seymour, and so far really enjoying it. I probably will have read a bit more by the end of the month, but I will still be listening to this in October. The final thing that I wanted to mention just before I go is the Killer Reads Thriller Month Book Club. This is run by AJ over at AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. I am still joining in with this book club, I truly am. This book club is reading Penguin's top 60 thrillers of all time. And I wanted to join in with this so much and really want to read all 60 ultimately. I have already read some of them. So this month's book I have already read. Check out AJ Dunn's announcement to find out what it is. And so this month I'm really hoping to catch up, because In July, the book club was reading One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I started on audio and I still haven't finished. In August, the group was reading Strangers by Dean Koontz. I haven't started this yet. And in September, this group was reading Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. I haven't started this yet either. So, October is one of the months where I don't have a Killer Reads Thriller Month book club to read because I remember the book quite well. So I will be picking up at least one of those books so that I'm almost caught up with Killer Reads. There is one more thing that I forgot to write down that I am going to be participating in October, and that is the Out of the Coffin read-along. This is hosted by Amy at Booktube with Amy and Ange at Ange's Book Chatter. And I've been meaning to join in with this for the longest time. So they are reading the Sookie Stackhouse series of books by Charlaine Harris. They are currently in September reading book 10, Dead in the Family. This is the final book that I have read from the Sookie Stackhouse series because when I read this series years ago, I actually thought this was the last book. I really do need to read this book to give myself a memory refresh. I've been meaning to reread some of the others so that I wouldn't go in completely not knowing where the series had gone, but I haven't. The reality is I haven't got around to it. I haven't had time for it. So I'm hoping by the end of September or carrying on into October to finish Dead in the Family. And the book that is actually being read by the Out of the Coffin read-along that I haven't read yet will be Dead Reckoning by Charlaine Harris. This is book 11 in the series, and this is where I need to join back in. So I'm going to definitely hope to finish this and very much hope to start this in the month of October. So those are the books I plan to read in Victober and the things I intend to participate in that are not Victober. I hope you've enjoyed this video today, and if you have, I hope you will give it a like. I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. I am very, very excited for Victober, so if you have a Victober TBR that I haven't watched yet, please do let me know in the comments down below so that I can pop over and see that. Do let me know in the comments, are you participating in Victober? Do you have other October reading plans? And what are they? If you've read any of the books I'm going to be reading, let me know, did you like them? Which ones do you think I should prioritise? I'm very excited to read some more Victorian literature because it's been a little while since I've picked up any. That's all from me today. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope very much to see you all again soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.